Boy, what a nightmare. I felt like fans just go out of control and just started killing each other. That's a horrible nightmare. Oh wait, that did happen. Great. Alright, it's not a nightmare. Real life, nightmare, same thing. Oh well. So, let's just stay on the lighthearted news and stay with this whole thing. I don't want to deal with fans just going out of control. I don't want to deal with this mockery, this so obvious twisted event, turn of event, whatever you want to call the event. Boy. Okay, I know there's going to be a lot of audience that can fall for the trick, that can be easily deceived or anything like that. But still, sometimes when it gets easily deceived, it's like not knowing the plot twist from a far view. Especially when the plot twist keep hammering in with all the obviousness is coming in. And then when it happens, it's like, oh crap, it did happen. So, come on. You're smarter than this. I know everybody else should be smarter than this. Let alone the fact, how could they tell which stories is crap or not crap? But that's another story. I guess this is where we have to establish opinion. Well, my opinion is this. It's a fact that it's crap. So, whatever. Let's just stay on the lighthearted news. This is Sparda's World Podcast, episode 22. And Sparda 3G, trying to get out of this nightmare by talking about this news. Well, actually, we got some news, and then we're going to do the reviews with no One Piece. But on the other hand, there is something about One Piece that I'd like to get into. So, before we get to this whole news stuff, I have to announce something right now. Okay, as you may know or may not know, next week from this episode, well, actually, in a couple of days, even in fact, there's going to be an E3 event. And that's for gaming related news. And that's just like one of the yearly events that lasts at least a week, from Monday to Friday or even Thursday, with all the news coverage, previews, you name it. It's like a gaming event, a gaming newsworthy event. And because of that, I'm going to be heavily focused on that, because I do follow this whole thing too. So it's going to distract me from reading these and making a review and making a podcast episode out of it. So therefore, I'm not going to do any podcast episode next week. So, yes, no podcast next week. Nothing. No 2 episode, no 1 episode, just no podcast next week. On the other hand, I am going to still write my quick thoughts on the chapters, including the other series that I don't really cover in this podcast, such as Haikyuu or Sokigeki no Soma. So, something like that I will only talk about in the Tumblr, but not in my podcast. So, that's something you should be aware. Something that I won't even stop to do. Because, it's easy to write, and it's easier to write, and kind of harder to think, speak, and record. That's actually more tough on me. If you haven't noticed, sometimes I forget to input information. On the other hand, I do keep down notes in order to remember what to talk about. So that way I don't need to forget what I really wanted to discuss in this episodes or any episodes even. But other than that, I will be writing my quick thoughts next week, so you can look up to that for my opinion. It won't be as elaborate as this podcast, but at least you get the idea if I think it's a good chapter, a bad chapter, average chapter, whatever chapter. So, yeah, no new podcast episode next week. There's no podcast at all next week, but after that week, it will continue on with this podcast reviews and all that stuff. So, fear not. It's only for 1 week. I'm sorry I had to do this. I know it's a little bit silly doing this for game stuff, but I have been following these stuffs for a long time, and it sounds a bit selfish. I apologize for that, but I am going to try to focus or try not to overwork myself. I'm still waiting for my result for my exam, So hopefully that'll be a very uphill event for me. This whole my life career. So it could just make something that would make me so happy about and more easy focus, as you could say. Because right now I'm trying not to get overcomplicated myself, and doing this podcast, as much as I like doing this, not just for my amusement, or not just for the fact it's like a job, quote unquote. It's more like just doing it for you guys. So it's not like it's hindering me, but with the fact that if you get a lot of stuff to do, with a lot of focus to keep, you gotta take some sacrifice for momentarily, and then hopefully you could revert that once you're done with the other studies. So this is I have to take, and fear not, I will rate my quick thoughts. So hopefully you would just read on from my quick thoughts, and the week after that I will actually resume my podcast in the normal schedule as always. So yes, no new episode next week for Tuesday and Friday. No podcast at all for next week. The following week, yes, I will continue my schedule, and I will continue reviewing for you for the podcast. All right, so let's get to the news. We have one news. Fortunately, there's no One Piece chapter this week. Sadly, because it's up to the part that should be the most exciting part of the fight, which is the conclusion, the climax. But that's not going to happen. Instead, we don't have any chapter this week because, well, apparently Oda just want to take a break. And I believe he actually threw out a party for the staff that works behind the One Piece. Not really in the manga, but more of an anime, in fact. The voice actors that showed up. So that's interesting to see. And, he also managed to draw a picture that tells the creator of My Love Story that he's a fan of the series, and he managed to draw the protagonist for both series, from One Piece and the My Love Story. It's pretty funny to see that image, but it's actually nice to see the endorsement that comes from Oda himself. Especially, Oda is like treated to be one of the toppest person in Japan, especially in terms of manga sales and just in popularity in general. So yeah, it's very high. It's very it's very I can't find the right word, but it's very honor to receive that kind of attention from Oda. I mean, I'm not saying, I know he's still a normal guy, but hey, a lot of people will see him like a prime example to go to be one as a mangaka, like be that successful, be the leader, be the be the king of the world, or at least in Japan, in terms of manga at the very least. But the point is, it's still nice to get that treatment. But that's not the news I'm going to talk about. The news what I'm talking about is that One Piece is going to get a big news in the 30th issue of Weekly Shonen Jump. That will be on June 22nd. Now, of course, we're going to get an early leak, and I won't even report it to you guys on the podcast, but I can report it on the Tumblr page. So then I'll give my small thought on this big news. And yes, that's big news is gonna come out next week for us guys, because we get this stuff earlier, and the official one will be on the 22nd, which is not bad enough. So I don't know what's gonna be about. What could it be? Not sure. To be honest, I do think it might be a movie, and you know what? That's not a bad thing. In fact, if it's the movie and it's by Oda himself, I think we're gonna get a really, really good treat, because I haven't seen Film Z, as I said before. I still haven't, but maybe if this movie announcement happens, maybe it'll force me to watch Film Z, or more like force me to watch it much earlier than planned, because get that hype away. It does create that hype whenever a news-worthy story that comes around. It does help. So I do think it's a movie, though. I believe it's going to be the movie. It's been a while since the last movie, which is 3 years ago, I believe. So this one, it seems like a right time. It's funny though because One Piece is something that you want to milk this cow. I mean, the anime is doing that job, sure. But don't you think the everything else around it, the movies and, more money generating, you would assume that. I mean, they've been making movies yearly. I think it was yearly back then. And then when Strong World happened, it's not like it felt like it was going to be a bi-yearly. But then all of a sudden it's not. It's become whatever it decided to feel like. So yeah, I think it's gonna be the movie, and and again, it's not a bad thing. I would definitely like it if they announce a new movie. If it's something else, I don't know what could be. Somebody tries to just wait at the end of the series, I'm like no, or at least the other one is more reasonable, thinking like we're gonna find a new nakama, a new crew member. I'm thinking, why would you announce that? And this is the final battle, the final set of the battle. I don't think they're gonna do that. It's like, hey, behold, this new character, the new crew member. How he's gonna be? How or he or she's gonna be? Well, find out by keep reading. It just sounds ridiculous to do that. I mean, it could happen, but it's not going to happen. So, my best guess is the movie, and I would not be upset. I would be delighted, and I would look forward to it. Possibly could come in November, maybe. Usually when they make a new movie announcement, it's usually like a 5 months behind. Sometimes not, but we'll see. So that's why I think it could be the movie. And Monday they want to go against Fairy Tail, Naruto, any other series, anime series, movie adaptation. But yeah, so that's the news. I won't report it in the podcast because there won't be no podcast next week. But at least you will get it to read my thoughts on the Tumblr page. And then we have, speaking of movie, we have Boruto the movie new info, and pretty much it seems like it almost feels like it changed his mind. Like, okay, change your plan. We're gonna do this movie instead. Apparently, we have a villain. We do have a villain in the movie, and he seems to be like, I guess it might be, according to the guide, and I guess it might be the guy that Sasuke was trying to find in terms of who's the guy who could be scarier than Kaguya, and that probably be that person. So, because he has 2 Rinnegan in his in his hands. So, yeah. Apparently we have a villain, and yeah, that's pretty much it, really. So I guess you could say the movie won't be about the Chunin exam, and I'll still keep my word. I think the idea of the Chunin exam and everything else, well, actually, I don't really mind too much on the Chunin exam. It just feels a bit okay, not too bad, but hopefully you could put more work to it. And the only thing I was questioning is the whole Sasuke being the Piccolo while Boruto be the Gohan, the usual thing. It's not so bad. I just think it could drag on a lot, or it might not cover enough, or it might not be believable enough. Even though you have like a good hour and 50 minutes, but sometimes Kishimoto doesn't know how to make it visible or make it so he doesn't do it subtle as well. He doesn't make it so like a silent movie style. He's not that clever. I guess you could say he does thing a bit cliche or a lot cliche, but it could still work out at least in the okay level. I mean, it could be decent. I don't know, but with this villain announcement, it seems weird because unless they're gonna push these new generations too hard to the point that suddenly they could be more powerful than Naruto and Sasuke, and if that happens, it's just too far fetched. But if it doesn't happen, then that means we gotta rely on the good old Sasuke and Naruto combo, which is okay, but I thought we're pushing the new generation. I don't know. maybe it's always about this whole old generation just being there because you guys are not satisfied enough with the new generation. So why not? It's like playing safe. I understand, hosting the new generation can be very hard, but you gotta try it. You gotta just let them know why they should care about the new generation. I don't know what the Gaiden do, but from what I get, it seems like the Gaiden is more focused on the older character than the newer character. It's like if we're watching wrestling, where they only rely on the legend wrestlers, like the back in the Attitude Era, but we're not focusing on the new generations, like, whatever the new young rising star, like in the age of 25 and 5, age 28, age 30, but instead we rely on age 39, 42, 45. That does happen, folks. So my point is, it just seems a bit iffy, and not only iffy, but it's kind of a little bit strange to have Kishimoto come out and say, like, okay, this is going to be my grandest finale. This is my masterpiece I've been dying for. It seems basic right now. So I hope there's more to it. I mean, at least, I don't know. I gotta wait for more information. I don't even know how it's going to be done. It almost feels like we're going to see Chun's then boom, there's a monster. A guy that's just scary because he has Rinnegan for a hand, whatever. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So that's the news for that one. So, look, I don't know how it's gonna be. All right, I really don't know how it's going to end up being. I don't know if it's gonna be great. I don't know if it's gonna be good. I don't know if it's gonna be bad. I don't know if it's gonna be god awful. I just, it just seems. All I know is the risk taking with these new generations just doesn't seem very, risk taking at all. It just feels safe. It plays too much safe, to the point that probably a lot of people might just still stick around just because it's still focusing on the old people. If it focuses on the new people, God knows what happens to them. They probably lose all these people that care about the series because, not a lot of people will actually give them a try. There's a lot of people that stubborn, even the loyal fans. So I really wish they would have taken more risk, but we'll see what happens. So that's the news for today. There's actually pretty much more news to it, but you could search on yourself, and this whole E3 has been distracting me. We already covered about this whole China blacklist anime and manga, which some of them is pretty upsetting, but I understand. But at the same time, I can't argue. My opinion is off. It's pretty crap, but I got a respect for every different government, different religion, etc. So whatever. I'm not gonna get deeper. Just we just know that it's a blacklist, and whoever lives there and whoever feels that is injustice, well, that's sad to say. So there's no intro for Boku no Hero Academia, so I gotta say it right here, right now. Here we go to Boku no Hero Academia. Well, I still need an introduction for Boku no Hero Academia, but no anime. There's no anime. Though I would like to use the Superman theme once again. Or maybe not. I mean, they are training academy, so there may be something related. I can't think anything else. Let's just get to the chapter review. Alright, so this chapter is pretty much the beginning of a new arc. I mean, yeah, granted, the last chapter was like that, but I guess I wasn't known which is going to go. But I guess you could say this is officially our training arc. This is literally a training arc for every character. So I guess you could say the last chapter was the real beginning, but this one is the much clearer one, and this one is pretty much give you the perfect idea that this arc is going to be a training arc. Maybe not for one character, but we get to that part. So, in the end of this chapter, I saw this chapter a very informative and a very good chapter. This was a good chapter to start off for this new arc. So now we get to understand that not only is this going to be a training arc, but this is going to be a very developed arc for these characters that we're seeing to know from the beginning, such as Uroka and especially Aiden. Definitely Aiden. Or, I'm going to start calling these hero name very soon, but right now I'm just going to call their name the normal name. So, just get used to the normal name for now, and then I'm going to start calling their hero's name, because that's what they are now. I mean, this seems like this arc is really, this is going to be a training arc, of course, but after the training arc, I think that's where everybody are finally, developed people, and they finally get their own identity. Because usually the third arc or the second arc, one of those longer arcs, or usually the arc that's really going to define the series to make you say, you got to read the series. You got to read this. Something like that you have from a lot of different series. Like you got, like with Tokyo Ghoul, you got Ogiri's arc. With that arc, you get the understanding why the series is good. And then when you're going to try to give them a chance, and if they don't like it, then that means that they should just drop the series. And if they do like it, then you're on for the ride. And you most likely, some people can become a fan of the series. So usually that's the case for a lot of series, especially in Weekly Shonen Jump. You got that whole tournament thing. But I think Boku no Hero Academia is not going to rely on the tournament arc to make everybody like the series. I think it's going to be after that. Maybe not. I don't know. It hasn't found that breaking point. At least to me, it hasn't found that breaking point. There's a lot of promises that's shown from that tournament, but other than that, it doesn't really tell me you got to read the series because of this arc, or more like you got to read the series because it's just that good. Overall, I'm not saying you should rely on one arc, but there's always an arc that is a breaking point for the series that tells you, okay, it could get better than this arc. It may not get better than this arc, but this is the arc that tells you it's good to be a fan of the series, or it's good to be a follower of the series. Whatever. The point is, I'm hoping that after this arc, there might be that moment, because it seems like a lot of things are going to change for the better. So, beginning of this chapter, we started with Deku thinking over what to do, what's his plan, what he's gonna pick, and you see like a huge text bubble that I can't believe the translator managed to translate every single one. I don't even know how the original format would look like, the at least the Chinese scan. But I'm trying to imagine in the Japanese scan as well. Just imagine you got to translate all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, he's overthinking a lot of things in order to understand what is the best fit for him when it comes to picking the right camp. So it's rather funny because that's Deku in a nutshell right there. Since he's always a brainstorming guy, so at least we still remember that he's not such an idiot, or one of those usual protagonists that you get in the Shonen Jump series. But yeah, he's pretty thoughtful on what to choose. But luckily, he does have a nomination that we're gonna get to very soon. So anyway, we get more explanation. Now, the last chapter was about the heroes naming. Pretty much make yourself identifiable. Sorry. So this one is about the nominations, how it works, and and you have to choose only one. And when you choose one of the lists, that's where you're going to be at, and that's where they're going to train you or whatever. And it's up to you to pick them, because they all vary. They're not like, okay, I pick them because this hero does that. As in like, oh, I like that hero, I'll pick him for no reason and stuff like that. More like, it's about like the feel, the training feel that you feel like that you need to work on. So for example, you got one hero focus on life-saving activities, not so much of a combat, more like a support section of the character. So basically the tournament arc benefit this one, because we've seen a lot of ups and downs from the future generation heroes. Like Uroka, she wants to increase her stamina, get her stronger. So basically, she decided to go to a battle hero gunhead's office, which is pretty much a hardened battle group. So again, because we saw her action going against Bakugo, we all recall that she couldn't keep up. I mean, she had a lot of good ideas, but it just wears out. She wears out quickly because she's not really ready for those combat field. She has a limitation, so she understands that she's going there just to get stronger and get out of the comfort zone and become more active and more stamina. Have much more energy. So that's it's a good thing that the tournament arc does benefit rather than just be an arc of whatever, just enjoyment. But now it gives these characters the idea of what they have to work on. Well, I mean, 2 chapters ago, they kind of gave you the idea on the personal level, but in the combat level, this is where we get the idea from. So for her, she's going for stamina increasement, get stronger. And Deku has not been decided, but we're getting there soon. And speaking of Deku, he is doing some exercise, isometric exercise. He's doing it as he's thinking. So this guy is not a quitter. This guy doesn't let anything go by. He's gonna do all in one go. So good for him. This is a funny part of the chapter is where All Might decided to talk to Deku because he's telling him that he actually got nominated, and that's by Gran Torino. Yeah, that's the name. No, it's not mistaken with the movie. Though I do think the name did come from the movie. And because from what I heard, I believe Japan really has a lot of respect for Clint Eastwood. To be honest, this is new to me, and sorry if I was really behind on that, but that's what I heard, and that's most likely true. And, it seems like the mangaka of the series is a fan of it, and that's where he got the name. I don't know where else can you get the name from, but still. I mean, maybe it's just a coincidence, but I do believe that's where it came from. All Might telling him that he has a nomination by Gran Torino, who is the homeroom teacher for All Might. And as many panels you see of All Might, he just looks so nervous, so scared. It just looks funny, especially with that face of his, all smired up, all heroic looking. It's not like he came out telling him the news in his normal form, or rather the weekend form. He's just telling him in All Might form, and it just looks rather funny just to see him all nervous, all scared, thinking about this Gran Torino guy that's going to help out Deku. Which, by the way, that guy knows about the One for All power up. So that's really tells you the idea that this arc is going to be a straight up training arc. And yes, All Might just go out of control, losing his mind, just talking nervous. So Deku just thought about like, oh boy, he's gonna be scared, is he? He's gonna be the scariest guy I'm gonna meet. So that's not a good way to make him hype. All Might, thanks. This is the interesting part, and that's where the Aiden decision where he's going to go in terms of the office, and he ends up going to a normal hero office. And the interesting aspect is that he's going there because it's located in Hustle City. Now, obviously, if you recall that the area that his brother got attacked is near there, so pretty much he ended up going there for the sake of himself rather than actually training himself. So that's a bit scary to think over. And what makes more scary is when before they all split up and with their hero costume, which is cool to see more of the hero costume coming back in the series. Good, because you got to be looking hero. But anyway, back with Aiden. The scary part is that the way how it's being monologue by Deku himself, talking about Stein, as I'm still calling him, and maybe Stain, but I like to call him Stein. It sounds more villainy. Anyway, Stein, he's the guy that murdered like 17 heroes and crippled 23. And unfortunately, his brother is part of that 23. So Deku is worried that Aiden might be onto something, and he realized this ever since the last chapter, with Aiden has saying nothing about his brother or nothing about his situation. So Deku only tells him if you need someone to talk to, you can always talk to us with Uraka. There are friends, and then the way how the mangaka used the panels, especially the first panel before the part where he says sure. The first panel gives you that dark vibe that he's really not in his mind or not in that zone of friendship. Right now, he's all thinking about Stein. He's thinking about vengeance. And the monologue going with this whole, I should have tried harder to get through to him because it was something I will soon come to regret. That is scary. I don't know how badly he's going to change. I don't know anything is going to be. I'm not sure how much damage would it be for Deku not really trying hard enough to talk to him. But maybe that's going to happen during this arc, or it could happen after this arc. Whatever the case may be, it's going to be not good. Because that monologue is there for a reason. And it's not like it's just going to be a red herring. At least I think. It could be a red herring, for what I know. But the way I was being said, I don't think so. I think it's really going to be a serious situation. Now Deku split off from the friends. Pretty much went to Gran Torino house. And yes, this is an old abandoned looking like house. So already not a good sign. To make it worse, he comes in and find the guy's dead. He's dead already. So yeah, that was quick. Then training arc ends. All right, next person. But no, that's not the case. Gran Torino is just a really, really retired old man. he's a really old man. Supposedly he's supposed to be dead according to Deku because he see him lying down with blood or red part on the ground with a plate in front of next to the corpse. But that's not the case. The case was that he was just carrying the sausage links, and then he fell and he got ketchup all over the place. Well, not over the place, but where he's at. So he happened to look like he died. He died with perhaps murder and everything like that. So no, that was a mistake. So yes, he was waiting for him. And unfortunately, because of him being such an old guy, he doesn't know who he's talking to. He doesn't know who he is. He was like, "Who are you?" And the funny thing is, he just introduced himself. He introduced himself, and then he said, "Who are you?" Like 1 second, like that. Then he's just like, "I want food. I want some food." All right, and then he called his name, which is Toshinori, which is not even his name. It's just like, what the hell? What is this old guy? Look like Robin. Robin from Batman and Robin. Well, at least the mask. But anyway, yeah. So this is a very old timer that really makes Deku think, okay, this is no promise. I'm just gonna go and just start powering up myself in one way or another. Then he gets serious, telling him, "Come at me, one for all. I want to see how well you can handle." And this is where Deku is like, "Huh, this is weird." And he was trying to leave still because Deku keep thinking maybe he is serious, and then he says, "Who are you again?" He's like, "Oh, never mind. Okay, this is getting nowhere. I'm just gonna start training on myself." Because he has no time since All Might already has not much time left. And he has to become the new All Might, so to say, in terms of hero. You know what I mean? And then that's where Gran Torino is like, okay. This is where he got very serious to the point that you got to see his face in a more serious drawing, as you could say. This is basically to give you the idea he's more serious than he looks. And he pretty much tells him he's not playing around. He really wants to see that All Might, one for all power. So show him what he got, and that's where the chapter ends. But yeah, he's no joke. You can see that in that one panel, he pretty much could instantly go there in a very quick speed. Like, damn. So yeah, pretty good chapter. I like this one. I like this direction it's going. This is one of the few rare times that the training arcs actually gets me very interested, especially where not only we get a new character, but the idea to see how he's gonna fix up that one for all power. And of course, the other characters we most likely may not see as much. I hope I'm wrong because I like to see Aiden part, especially where he's so hell bent to get that payback for his brother against Stein. I don't know if that's going to happen in this arc or it might happen after this arc. But one thing for sure, we're going to see a lot of training aspect with Deku and Gran Torino helping him out to perfected that before, All Might comes to retire from being a hero altogether. So, yes, this was a pretty good chapter, and I'm looking forward to how this new arc develops itself. And hopefully we get to see some of the other characters. I think we will get to see other characters. But one thing's for sure, after this arc, I think a lot of people is going to change up for the either good or for Aiden, maybe bad. It's about time that things are making progress, and this was a pretty decent chapter. I thought this was pretty enjoyable, thanks to Grimjaw interaction with Askin, and then we have more development coming from Basby and Jugram, or Jugo, but I'm going to call him Jugram because that's the first translation I saw. I think that's the real translation, if anything. But yes, we have an interaction between these two groups, with Grimjaw and Askin and Jugram and Basby. And we also got a little bit of hint of what's going to be happening with Ishida. So that's something that should be looking forward to in the future. So, this was a pretty good chapter, actually. I actually enjoyed this a lot more. And in fact, it didn't went by so quickly to read this. Back the past chapters, you could read these chapters like in 3 minutes or even less. Actually, lately I've been reading like in a minute. And at times I do clock myself. But this one actually felt a little bit longer probably because the attention to detail of the action scenes coming from Basby and Jugram actually have something to look over too. And the art itself is actually still decent after all this time. And it feels weird that these panels didn't take up too much of a wasted space. I mean, there'd probably be some, and there might be some, but it never really told me that this was a way too quick reading or anything like the bad habit of what Kubo has been doing with Bleach as of late. So this one was actually pretty decent because it felt like we're progressing. We felt like we're getting some interaction that actually give us insight of these characters. And not only that, it's actually pretty fun to see Grimjaw once again coming back, being badass of who he is, how everybody likes. So coming back from the last chapter, we have Grimjaw going against Askin, or rather chasing after him because he knows better to run away since Grimjaw is just one hell of a guy. And Ichigo is trying to argue with Grimjaw about like what they're supposed to do, but instead the Grimjaw went hasty and went on his own, and telling him you can't waste any time because these guys are gonna form a plan and then they're gonna override them. So it's best to get ahead of themselves and just beat the crap out of them right away. Asking trying to run his life, and he tried to please his life because Grimjaw is gonna kill that guy, and Grimjaw has a courtesy to say, you're gonna die because you're just weak, and that's how it's gonna be. And plus he's no ally to Ichigo. That's why he's ignoring his order because he's an enemy of Ichigo. So then Askin try to make a offer to work together so they can kill Ichigo, but of course Grimjaw's like, no, hell no, because he's gonna do it on his own, so don't make him laugh. And then he pretty much have his fingers and claws. It turned to in claws and attacked them, and that's where it stopped there. But I guess you could say we might most likely this is gonna be a one way battle. Unless Askin has something in his sleeve, but we'll see what happens. So it was kind of fun to see how Grimjaw acts towards the Askin as well as Ichigo for a while, because Grinjo is just a character that people like a lot of people likes to see, and I could understand why, because he can be a fun guy, and he's like one of the few characters that just really don't give a crap about anything else, and I can see why a lot of people would like to get behind with. Then we get to Jugram, talking to one of the guards, see if anything is all in order. He is worried about Ishida because, sometimes you just can't have that trust, especially when it comes from a guy who has been a friend with Ichigo and the others. So, of course you can't really trust him completely. Makes sense to me, especially how much Yauch gives so much trust, honor to this Ishida guy, especially since, Ishida is just a newcomer. I mean, even though he has been a Quincy for such a long well, he is a Quincy since his birth, but point is, he was never a tag team with he never team up with these guys. So, all of a sudden, now he's a team, and then he get this high promotion and get the high level class. He is like the top guard for Yauch at this time, especially for this War Welt's New World Order, as they say. So, the guard, Jugram doesn't have a good feeling about that. Tells the guards to keep an eye on him until he got his eye stabbed through, or whatever, laser through, and pretty much Bass B make his entrance. Yeah, kill him with that way. That's one way to introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself. And then pretty much they have a small skirmish battle with each other, which looked cool because of the whole art design. That's one thing about Kubo and Bleach I had to give it credit. Now, of course, there's a lot of different problems, and sometimes the battles can bring up one crazy ass pull after another. When it comes to art design of showcasing the battle, not the one that's like all Dragon Ball Z style, like the big explosion. Some choreograph can be interesting to see, and it looked cool, and you only wish it can be animated once again, because when it comes to anime department of Bleach, is actually pretty enjoyable in that way. Arguably more enjoyable than the manga, because it has that fast paced action, and it kind of like Nanatsu no Taizai. I wouldn't say it's better. It's not better than the manga itself, but the redeeming quality is the action itself, having that fast-paced action over the top, not so much over the top like the later on Dragon Ball Z, such as like the Cell Saga and up, or like or Gurren Lagann and stuff like that. But it is easy to focus, and it's just enjoyable to see how much it could go crazy and just how over the top it can be in that circumstance. So Bleach is that way when it comes to those kind of action. I'm actually miss those action. It's really nice to see it once again for what it is, and I don't think it will last that long with this kind of battle, because granted it wasn't a one-sided battle as of I thought. It can be in the next chapter for all I know, because this is something they're going to hype up Jugram, how powerful he really is. Bass B, on the other hand, at least he ain't going down with a whimper. He's gonna go down with a big fight, and this is the main fight that he's really going to have, which most likely he's going to die by this end of the skirmish, end of this whole fight. Since the end of the chapter, you get the whole flashback, which only signify he's going to die, or if he gets saved, I'll be surprised, kinda. But we'll see. But he did went on his own, and I don't know what the other Quincy went to, but maybe they could help him before his deathbed. But we'll see. But speaking of other Quincy, this Bass B came up to confront Jugram, talking about how like other Quincy has lost their life, all because Yauch wanted to do the sacrifice. They were sacrificial lamb, and Jugram tells them that because they're not worthy of that, and he said it such a casually, and Bass B was pissed off for hearing such a thing like that. So there are remaining survivors such as Bass B and the other two, as we call. So now they're fighting each other, and they're in a different side. Bass B pretty much calls him a traitor. And again, it ends at the chapter ends right before we start to see the flashback by Baz B. Seems like a fiery town is all fired up, and I'm not sure what age he's in, but I guess you could say this is where he probably meet Jew Graham and perhaps the rest as well. So that's where the chapter ended, and it's still a pretty decent chapter because it's just a bit of fun in the beginning, and then you get some serious note, and the actions choreograph is actually pretty neat to see once again. That does not necessarily has to be a big explosion or whatever like that. It's actually pretty interesting to see. Let alone the fact there's two Quincy going against each other. So it's kind of upsetting that it took this long to get that kind of battle rather than just get the Shinigami versus Quincy or anything else like that. So, it's been a while, or this is the first. I don't remember if this is the first or this has been a while. I don't remember either way. It's still interesting to see this happening right now. I don't know how long the next chapter will last in terms of the fight because the flashback is in the next chapter. I think he will last for 2 more chapters. Baz B. He will last for 2 more chapters. Drew Grant probably going to show off his secret technique, his secret power, whatever it may be. And then that's where Baz B either dies or just get KO. So we can only hope for the latter because I'm a bit interested of Baz B. He is one of the few Quincy that stands out at the very least. And I am interested to see the flashback. Hopefully it doesn't feel too rushed. And hopefully it won't be like the last arc where it just seems like there was going to be a flashback only to cut off to the ending of the arc. But we'll see what happens in the next chapter. So other than that, this chapter was pretty decent. I enjoyed this, and hopefully keep it this way. At least it will end with a big bang for the series itself. And that will do it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and remember, no podcast next week. Sorry, but I don't want to get overdone myself. I don't want to, fry my head. Especially with this E3 thing. I guess you could say I was a gamer first and anime and manga next. I don't know. I don't want to put priority first, but it's going to be a very busy day for me. Busy week, actually. And, I got work myself as well, so not trying to overcomplicate myself. So please excuse my pardon for this whole thing. I know this seems a little selfish, and I apologize for that, but just 1 week I would do this. And I will get back to normal schedule. But don't worry. I do have my Tumblr page to write my quick thoughts and my own thoughts on other things, such as, perhaps the One Piece big news, which most likely going to be a movie. But if it's not a movie, I'll still comment on it and see if I think it's a good idea, bad idea, whatever idea. So whatever. Do not worry. You can still see me being active in my Tumblr page. I'm going to write my quick thoughts on the chapters. You get the idea if I like it, don't like it, what I see good, what I see not so good, and everything else like that. So feel free to see my quick thoughts in my Tumblr page. And, of course, continue to support, subscribe if you haven't already. And that's it. This is the end of the episode. I'll see you in 2 weeks. If you're not following E3, just have a safe week. If you are following E3, have fun following, because there's going to be a lot of news for gaming. So until then, I'll see you next time for more Sparda's World Podcast. Take care, everyone.